asked us to be brave, asked us to have belief, and I thought we did that. It's certainly in large spells of the game. We had good control in the back third, we had good control in the middle third, but ultimately it's what you do in a final third, and I think that's probably where we lack tonight. Just that little bit of those clean strikes on goal, those little bit of just that's something different in the top end of the pitch that would potentially get us a goal. And we had a good piece of play that led to a chance off Jarrett, which was I think it's probably one of the minimal chances that we had through the game, from all the possession that we've had. That's probably one of the few chances that we've had. So that it's definitely something to work on. Plenty of positives from it in terms of the possession and stuff and the control that we had. Of course, they've had a few chances which Brandy's had to make a few saves, but coming to a place like this, you're always going to concede chances, unfortunately, and Brandy's there to do what he does best. But no, a hard scoreline to take, obviously, a narrow 1-0. But no, it's it's a tough game, but one that we could certainly look at and think we could have done better in certain aspects, whilst also taking some good positives from it.
Yeah, and the thing with recent matches has been early goals, and it was again the 4th minute that struck this time in Gainsborough's favour. Really, the nightmare start there, so I suppose credit on that front that you didn't crumble and concede more, because the way that the match was panned out, it did feel like it could have done at one point.
Yeah, and we've mentioned that before the game about making sure we start properly. Obviously, we've conceded a few early goals recently, and it's whether it be a foul or a little bit of loose play, I don't know, but he's found himself sort of with a tap in, really, the lad who scored. So I'll have to look at that again, but like you said, we didn't crumble, and I said to them before the game, no matter whether we're winning, whether we're drawing, whether we're losing, we continue to play the way that I'd like them to play. And to be fair to them, they were really brave with it, and we stuck at it. We did have to have some good spells within that first half and within the second, but I just felt that sometimes we weren't quite crisp enough with that final pass or that inventive enough around the opposition's box, which has certainly been another theme of recent games, unfortunately. I just feel we're a Lewis Hawkins or a Leighton Watts away from being a really, really good team. And the sooner those lads are back, the better.
Yeah, and in an attacking sense, you had referenced that Jarrett was probably the only real shot on target in the match, sort of trying to keep it alive at the back post, and it nearly did come off. But in that second half, a few more chances, but again, it was, the disappointing aspect of the fact that you haven't really worked games with keeper out there.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we've just said in there. You can have all the possession you want, and then like I said, that's exactly how I like to play. We haven't had enough control in matches over the season, and it's certainly how I'd like to play, and it's certainly how I recruited for this season. I wanted to keep the ball, I want to have control, I want to have attacking intent, and that's not me saying go out and play Barcelona tippy type football, but I want to be positive. I want to get down the side. I want to attack teams, and we just didn't do that enough tonight through all the possession that we had.
Yeah, and then you saw towards the end of the game as well a couple of attacking changes with Matthew Timon and James Harrison in there, and straight away you could see Timon's impact on the match, and it did kind of feel like the way the match was going, it was going to maybe take a player like him to try and make something happen.
Yeah, you just thought of, obviously you're chasing the game at that point, and you leave yourself open at the back and man for man and stuff, but you're trying to get something out of the game, so it's something you have to do, and they did have a couple of chances on the back of that. But as you said, we had a couple of chances. We had was it a penalty, wasn't it? I don't know. You obviously you shout and you claim for them, but you're generally quite lucky to get those. So no, we'll dust ourselves down. Because obviously, with the weekend, we've got a free week now where we can hopefully get some players back. We can get some rest and get some time off into the lads who've got some niggling injuries. But we need to do some work on the training ground in terms of our attacking play. And I felt like Gainsborough had some real good rotation there today, which we found difficult to cope with at times. But on the other hand, I'm sure they'll say that they found our play quite difficult as well. So a good game, and a good football game for in terms of both teams. But ultimately you're here for 3 points, and Gainsborough got them on the night.
Yeah, and like you just mentioned, a free Saturday coming up, and being the Widnes match initially. But in terms of the schedule going ahead now, a couple of training sessions, I'm sure, and hopefully still to be confirmed, but a match on the 27th as well, which will be key to sort of get back, and again, going to be another Saturday Tuesday schedule again after that.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I'd be more disappointed if we didn't have a game for a couple of weeks now. So ideally, we'll get a game on that Saturday. If we can arrange that would be great, and we'll work towards that. As I said, there's plenty of lads in there with knocks and niggles. So whether the rest has come at a really good time, I don't know. Only time will tell. When the games program starts up again. But no, we'll work hard in the build up to that Saturday game, and we'll train hard. We'll train on Tuesday and Thursday, and we'll do all we can to start scoring goals again, and hopefully get back to what we were doing earlier in the season. And we've got a good goal scoring record in the league. I think we want to be up there with the top teams in terms of our goal scoring, and it just feels like over the last couple of games we've probably lacked in that department. But no, we'll work hard at it, and we'll go into that Saturday game hopefully with the game being on, and we'll go into it with the intent of trying to get some attacking intent into our game again.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.